Hello, everyone. This is Chala Dinkoy, CEO and founder of The Repositioning Expert, coming to you live with another Tuesday Tea Time with Chala. I was not here last Tuesday. I was in Oklahoma. I've been dying to go there. I had long-time clients who were from there, so it was a bucket list. And then I got a new client and I went to see them, and they were 2 hours outside the city, which was like in Elk City. So I got to, go through some country, some roads, saw some like trucks suspended kind of like in the air on the way. It was very interesting. It's just a beautiful, tiny, lots of history, lots of interesting things. It was really great. So let me just take a sip. Okay, so today we're talking about 3 ways to avoid sales objections. If you sell at all, you're going to get objections, right? But now we're talking B2B sales to hardened professionals on both sides, but mostly the corporate buyers who are so jaded. But there are certain ways, and statistically and based on all my teachings and having been a corporate buyer for 18 years, and now for the past 11 years teaching small businesses to sell to corporations, there are certain ways that you can minimize it and close the sale. So the first way, and the statistic that I wanted to start with is like a hopeful one, is that if you are able to correctly address whatever the issues are that come up during the sales process, there is a 64% rate of success. You probably are asking yourself, well, why isn't it 100%? Because there's, variable things that are happening. Sometimes it's outside of the buyer's power. Budgets change. Sometimes there's no more a need. Sometimes market conditions don't allow for that purchase to happen. Sometimes it's a timing issue. Sometimes you were just there to provide a bid and to be a bid price and nothing more. So it's not bad that 64% success comes out of being able to properly address some of the questions. And whether those, actually turn into objections or not, really depends on kind of the things that I'm going to talk to you about. So here are the 3 ways to minimize or avoid objections during a sales conversation. So I, in fact, taught this to a client today, is the whole, needs discovery / sales conversation, where you are talking about, you're uncovering the problem, but the true thing that you need to uncover in order to really avoid objections is the cost of the problem. If you collaboratively and co-create a cost of what this problem is costing the company, then you can really do a better job of presenting a comparative price of what your price is, which will most likely be a fraction of what the actual problem is, because it often is. The problem is so huge. And when you add in different elements and you do a good job of being on the same page of adding cost over cost over cost over cost of not having you solve that problem, then you're not able to overcome any price objections. And if you do a good enough job awakening them to this pain and what the consequences are of this pain, and most often consequences for a corporation is losing money, because corporations run to make money. So if you start off the conversation by demonstrating this, it is more than obvious that they need this. And so even if there is an objection, this is how you can overcome it or head it off altogether. So now, talking about price and cost, I had talked about before, in the first meeting actually increases sales close. I think it was like between 15 to 16%. So this is an excellent way to head off those objections. The second point that I want to make about how to avoid sales objections is have a decision maker in the room. I can't stress enough how important this is. Deals, here's the stat. This is so scary. Deals without the DM, which is the decision makers, are 80% less likely to close in small businesses And for enterprise, it's 233% less likely to close if there's no decision maker in the room. And the source here is it's from a site called Gong, which is a sales software. So how do you get them in the room? How do you get decision makers in the room? Let me take a sip. Okay, so it's simple. You ask for them to be there, because if there is enough of a case where they're suffering enough and there's a big enough problem and they recognize you as a vendor that can solve that problem through your marketing, your collateral, the buyer's journey is now all the way almost to the end where they don't call sales, that marketing has to do all the work to provide so much content, so much, data to consume about your product, service, and how you solve the problem, positions you as a thought leader. All of that has to happen in the background so that you can come to the table as a credible thought leader who has the skill set to be able to help solve that problem in front of the decision maker and to be able to command an audience with the decision maker. And the way that I often ask and train my clients to ask for the decision maker to be in the room is who needs to be there, who's going to make this decision. Decision makers, divide, in terms of the buying person who's going to be buying the service and using the service, and then, or using the service, and then it's the budget person. So the budget and the authority is how they split. Now, nowadays, these could be committees, or it could, if it's a smaller company, it could just be one person, or if it's a smaller purchase, it could be just one person. But you need to ask the question to be able to get the right people in the room. And one of the ways that we get the right people in the room is to say that the kind of meeting that we have, the kind of next step for us is to co-create a solution together with your key decision makers who are going to be actually involved in the purchase decision of this product or service. Who needs to be there, and do we need to change date and time to accommodate them? And then if the answer is yes, and yes, let me check with them. Let me check all their availability. Don't leave it up to the buyer, but set a date, which is like, is it okay if I call you next Wednesday at noon to be able to get that date from you? Does that give you enough room or enough time? So don't just leave it up to them. Ask for the decision makers to be in the room. Give the justification. Now, oftentimes there will be times where the buyer, if they're junior or they're a manager in the department and they don't have direct buying authority, they will want to vet you. Now, that's okay if there's no other way that you can go in, but if the problem is big enough and you are recognized as a big enough name in the industry, or have enough clout and have developed enough brand equity, you will be able to ask for key decision makers to be in the room. If the next step is they're only allowing you to do just vetting, then have the conversation without co-creating a scope of work and a solution and giving them a price, and make that the next step into getting the decision maker. So often when we have decision maker less meetings, sales meetings with lower level junior staff, our key objective in that meeting isn't to sell, it is to actually convince them that we can help them enough and that we have enough of a solution to get them to invite the decision maker into the room. So remember those stats is like small businesses, SMBs are 80% less likely to close with no decision maker in the room. And then enterprise is 233%. It's unbelievable. And of course, the reason for that is because the ticket price is much higher for the enterprise. And so there's much, much more at stake. All right, so the third way to avoid a sales objection and to close a sale on a sales call is if you sell alone. Listen to this. If you sell alone, you are 258% less likely to close a sale versus if you go in with even just one more person or a multitude of people on your team as a seller. And so increasingly, we found after COVID that the size of the buying teams have increased. So you need to be cognizant of the fact that if you're a solo, person going in there, I understand that you're a solo person going in there, but who could you bring with you, whether from other parts of, operations, whether from other partners, to make you look stronger and improve the visibility and the optics of the selling, to large corporations, where if you sell alone, you're 258% less likely to. I mean, that's ridiculous. Why wouldn't you just bring someone in? Because you didn't know that, because you hadn't watched this. So those are some of the ways to get by the objections and to close the sales. So if you implement them, these could be new, or these could be something that you had already known and were doing without even knowing it. But if you were to apply it and go in there with a full agenda of what you need to accomplish, how you need to do it, and what you need to bring to the table, I think you will very easily close very quickly, and hopefully by minimizing objections. Hopefully that was helpful, and I will see you next Tuesday. All the best, everyone.